This should be starting now. And so we'll, in a second, let people. Okay. We are live, and I'm going to start letting people in. You guys ready?
Ready.
And here they come.
Yay.
Eric, allow participants to unmute is off at the moment. I will leave it up to you if you want to.
Yeah. No, we'll leave it off for the introductions, and once we open the Q&A, we'll give people the opportunity to unmute themselves.
Alrighty.
Okay, we're just making sure we get everyone in the waiting room into the Zoom session before we start.
Okay, I just got a message from Phyllis to unmute her. Just a second. Unmute Phyllis. Okay, Phyllis, you should be unmuted.
I just want to say good morning on our last day. It's kind of sad, but it's just going so well. So I just wanted to say good morning to everybody and hope everybody's having a great time.
Thank you. Are we having a great time out there?
Yay.
Give a big applause. Yay.
You know, having run a convention before, this is the first time I've actually been able to go to all of the scheduled events. That has never happened to me before. It's very exciting. And I'm even getting some sleep.
Yay.
Which is also not usual. How's everybody else doing? Oh, everybody's muted, sorry.
They're
Morning,
typing in the
Rebecca.
chat. They're excited. We're talking about
Eric and Dave, let me know when you want to get started. Eric and Dave. It's
Okay. Yeah, it's looks like it's slowing down in the waiting room.
Have you found Tom yet?
Started. I see someone who's here as just Tom, but I don't know if it's Tom Dory. Tom Dory, if that's you, please go to the participants panel and raise your hand so we can unmute you. No, I don't see Tom Dory yet. There's more people coming into the waiting room.
We'll give them a few more minutes. Mm.
At least get the waiting room cleared.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the first session of the day, so everybody's still getting organized.
Getting our coffee, depending on where you live.
And I wanted to make a quick
Coffee, Jack
announcement.
Daniels.
If I can, let's see, it's a hearing. So we're going to try to put a form for feedback on the website at some point today. And so if you could go and fill that out, we realize we want to try to get information from you while you're here rather than after you leave, we might never hear back. So look for that on the main web page later today. Please.
I'm seeing something I've not seen in the waiting room before. We have one person in the waiting room that it will not allow in.
I had one just spitting before where it just spun, and I told him I can message. You can.
I just sent him a message.
I'm gonna leave and
try
come back.
reconnecting.
Yeah.
Okay, still a few more people trickling in.
That is a good point. So someone in the chat said, thanks for the live captioning. So we're trying that out for the first time, the live captioning. It turns out I can't mute. So if I cough, I apologize. But so we're just trying new things here at the 3D-Con.
Okay, I think that's it. There's one person who seems stuck in the waiting room. I've asked him to disconnect and come back. We'll see if he's able to come in.
Okay, I can
think
moderate
maybe
the meeting room if you want to go ahead.
And I'm still not sure if Tom Dory is here. Tom, if you're here, type something into the chat so that we know you're here.
Yeah, I'll watch for him, and hopefully he'll send a message to one of us. But I think we're 10 minutes in, so why don't we?
We need to get started.
Yeah, we should get started. Yeah.
Yeah. So welcome to the SIG. Linda, you want to take it away, or Andrea? Yeah.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you are. Thank you for joining us. And this is the special interest group for 3D phone and tablet discussion. And my name is Andrea Shetley. We started this a few years ago, and it's been very popular with all the new technology that comes out. And we just left it as an open forum discussion. So this is basically questions and answers, sharing some information. So we're waiting. Tom Dory is going to give us a little talk about the red hydrogen. So we're waiting for him to come in. But in the meantime, Eric is helping to moderate. So raise your hand with questions, or if you have something you'd like to share with us about software or hardware for 3D phones and tablets. And David raised his hand right away. David Starkman.
Okay, yeah, if you could go into the participants panel and let's see. There we go. I see you. Okay, I am going to unmute you. You should be able to unmute yourself now.
Are you there, David?
Here,
Yeah, I thought we were gonna do
give it another
questions
try.
later.
Give it another try. Give it another try. There you
Okay,
go. Okay,
got
we
it.
got David.
Yeah. Okay. I have a technical problem with a computer flight deck. So I'm want to ask if anybody can help me.
Yeah, I think we wanted to do a general presentation first and then talk
Oh.
about questions, but we'll be
Okay,
talking.
then
about
I'll
that
wait till
after.
later.
Okay,
Now we're waiting for Tom. So if
well, why don't we talk
if
about
Tom-
the other phones?
Well,
You
yeah,
know,
John Bishi has raised his hand. Why don't we unmute John? Hey, John.
Hey, good
You should be
morning.
able to unmute yourself.
I got the easiest question of all to get this whole thing started. I just got the rocket. I plugged it in.
Yes.
I haven't used it yet. So if someone wants to tell me 5 minutes of what you do when you get a 3D phone, what's the best way to start using it, that'd be great. I'll mute myself again.
I would say that's not really a 5-minute question because every phone is different because they have different operating systems and different apps. So it's not really a quick answer. There's quite a range of the 3D phones, and just a real quick showing some of the ones I have, starting about I think the Evo 3D a lot of people are familiar with. It was about 2011. But it's pretty low resolution, but its claim to fame is it does have the dual camera. But it's interesting is it works well with a lot of the apps, but it doesn't have a very high resolution picture. And the ones that have come out since then are much better. The DK World Discovery S2 is kind of the one that really started getting us excited about this. I think this was new in what, 2015, 16, maybe the first time we did one of these workshops, and people saw it and said, wow. So it's like a 1080p, real nice display. But the different 3D phones I have range in size from, this is like a 4.5-inch screen, up to like 6 or 6.5-inch screens for some of them. Most of with the exception of the Evo, most of them are at least 1080. The King, the King 7S is actually a 1440 or whatever P resolution, so it's even a little better resolution. And the only large tablet that I know of that has any kind of decent resolution or function is the one that Mr. Starkman was talking about, which is sometimes called the Freevee, sometimes called the 3D Commander, and which is really an excellent tablet, but it was originally a gaming tablet, so it's pretty old and it struggles a little bit with some functionality, but it's got a great picture. We keep waiting for somebody else to come out with a glasses-free tablet that in like a 10-inch size and no one else has, but these are available on the used market. And then the latest and greatest that we'll be hearing more about, or if not greatest, the Red Hydrogen 1 is the other one that has 2 lenses. So for people who want to use it as a camera. I primarily use mine for just viewing images. So I don't use it as a phone. I don't use it for taking pictures. So that's my perspective. Do you have something?
Thanks, Linda. Yeah, I've got basically the same range of phones and equipment that Linda does. And I saw David had asked which one, Linda, did you like best out of your equipment?
The phones, with the exception of the Evo, I think they're all excellent. I also had a Doogie in the past, or Doogie, but I just had too many phones, so I sold that one. It was
I still got mine.
It was a little bit bigger, so I did like that display. Some people had problems with the viewing distance and the ghosting, being at the wrong spot. I didn't have any trouble with it. I just had too many phones. So I like the King, probably the best of the ones I have, but you can't get it anymore. So of currently available phones, I think the Rocket is a great one, and there's some good sales on, or have been on and off. So if somebody's looking, it's got the newest Android version of any of these phones.
Okay.
Most of them are like Android 4, and it's, I don't know, 6 or 8 or something. I don't know Android system. Most of
I'll have to check that one out. Yeah, I'll have to check that one out.
Numbers, it's 4 or 5.
Yeah, my
One thing
latest
to
one
note
is
about-
the red hydrogen.
One thing to note about
Okay.
Rocket. Rocket actually has two models of the phone.
True.
There's the
true.
Rocket and the Rocket Pro, and
Yeah, I have the Pro.
there is a quality difference between the two of them. The Pro is definitely the better of the two.
Yeah, the regular Rocket has the advantage of having a replaceable battery, I believe, as does the Evo 3D has a replaceable battery. None of these others do. So when the battery dies, you're kind of stuck, I think, or somebody's going to have to, some repair person who's willing to kind of hack with it a little bit.
That's great.
Raised
So
hand.
David had asked. Okay, so David had asked me which one that I like best, and for viewing
Oh, yeah,
purposes, probably my King, and I carry that in my camera bag with me because when people see me shooting with my W3 or a twin rig, and they're really interested, you know, inevitably I've taken, 20 pictures of a duck or something. So it's hard to find a nice picture quickly on my W3 to show them. So it's nice to just be able to bring out the phone as a display and have, some of my favorite images loaded on there, and they can just really, and it's a lot easier to see in daylight than the back of the W3, as you all well know. That's just about impossible outside. So that's probably one I like. I'm really looking forward to getting in and learning more and using the red hydrogen. And then I've got to read up and look into this Rocket. It sounds interesting too. So I'm hoping somebody can give us a little presentation on the Rocket one as well.
Yeah, the other comment to make, or that I alluded to before, is the big difference between the phones is in the viewing software. In general, for most of the phones, you're going to want to put software on there in addition to what's already there. I think the app on the Rocket actually does a pretty good job natively, but I think I might be remembering wrong which phone does what. But on most of them, the existing software doesn't work very well for 3D, and in my opinion, the best viewing software is the TriDef 3D Gallery, which unfortunately you can't get the full version anymore unless you already own it. If you already own it under your Google account, you can put it on as many devices as you want. If the one big advantage of the VK World S2 is it comes with a full version of the TriDef. And at least most of the time, in theory, if you own that, if the owner of that phone, the Google account that's the owner of that phone can also put it on other devices. You have to pay a one-time $6.99 or something, and then you can put it on an unlimited number of other Android devices. The problem is the TriDef company went out of business and they're not supporting it. So there's kind of these little workarounds or trying to get the app attached to a kind of a dummy account that then you can put on devices that you want to give to somebody else. So it gets a little bit complicated, but that's the software I like the best. There are some other viewing softwares that are pretty good and easy to use and have the functionality.
So we have a raised hand. Andy Modler would like to talk about the Rocket 3D Pro.
Go ahead.
So
okay, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you, Andy.
Okay, great. So yeah, I got the Rocket 3D Pro last November. It was really cheap, like $80. So I couldn't resist that. And since I'm a software engineer, a retired software engineer, and I write Android apps, I thought I would play with it. So I did write an Android app that it's like a 3D reel. In other words, like a ViewMaster reel, only it's for the Rocket. I don't know if you can. This is probably too bright to see, but it's backwards. But this is the start of the app, and it has a bunch of features. You can download it from the Google Play Store.
So how do you like the Rocket?
Yeah, I really like the Rocket. I think the Pro is the only one to buy because it has the 1080p resolution, and it's fast. So and it has enough memory to handle large photo files. It's not quite as performant as the Samsung S8, but it's pretty fast. But yeah, I would get the Pro. I wouldn't even bother with the the smaller version. I don't
Do you
think
use it as a phone?
No, I don't use it as a phone, only as a display. Like here's the,
Just curious,
here's
does
the
anybody who
rocket.
has one use it as a phone, and how is it?
So this is in 3D.
I have one, but I haven't used it as a phone either.
I actually used mine as a phone very briefly, but I didn't really use it for data. And I think a lot of these phones, I don't know if it has the right, it might have the right bands to be used as a full featured smartphone with the different data bands and things. I don't know. It did work okay for me, but I didn't try it. I didn't try it for very long. I switched back to my regular iPhone as my primary phone.
I think the phone has the 2 SIM slots too, so you can use it in that way for business or for private use, I suppose.
Yeah, and pretty much all of these phones will take a micro SD for extra storage space. And a lot of them say you can only go up to like 32 or maybe 64 gigs. But if you reformat the card to FAT32, you can use 128 or higher cards in most of these phones. You just have to try it and see. The instructions don't say you can do that, but I use 128s in most of my devices and then just leave them in there.
Now, I have one that wasn't mentioned yet. It's a couple years old. It's the Super D. And the Super D has an interesting feature that I haven't seen on the others. It actually uses the forward-facing camera to track your eyes. So it widens the sweet spot by actually tracking your eyes and shifting the image as you move your head. Interesting feature that I wish some of the other phones were able to do. So does anyone else have another phone they'd like to mention? If you have anything you'd like to say, please raise your hand.
Hello, raise my hand again.
Let's see. There's a hand raised. Oh no, it just went away.
Yeah, it's me.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Mary.
I have a Rocket IO Pro 3D, and I really enjoy it, and everybody I've shown it to it really likes it. Several people in the UK have gotten them. They don't use them as a phone, but I use it as a smartphone and haven't had any problems with it. I don't use it for paying anything. I think some phones you can hook up, have something in there that you pay, you know, you scan it or something. I don't know exactly what you do with it, but I don't use it for that. But I use it as a smartphone for maps and Googling things online and all sorts of different smartphone uses, you know, checking the weather, what's coming up, that type of thing. So I really like it as a phone. So it's a lot better locally than my old phone used to be. So anyway.
The other thing that hasn't been mentioned about the Rocket is that it does have included 3D content that the other phones don't. And it's, you know, I guess I don't know what's happening into the future in terms of, I mean, somebody else may know more about how the company's doing and all that. I, you know, worry when you see all the phones at closeout kind of prices, and I haven't really used the online content. I just know it's there. I use it for my own content.
Yeah, I'm not sure where things stand right now due to the whole COVID thing, but I do have a friend who was working at Rocket. They're based here in California, so they are an American company. The owner of the company actually also owns the Houston Rockets, and thus the name Rocket.
Nice trivia.
And so they're based here in Pacific Palisades. And a friend of mine was actually hired at the beginning of the year to produce new material for their online content. So I know at least earlier this year, before everything shut down, they were producing new content.
Well, that's great to hear, Eric. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. In fact, I've been trying to convince them that they need to hook up more with the 3D community and get our material out to people on their phones. We'll see if that ends up happening.
Awesome. All right. Do we still not have Tom with us? We haven't seen him.
Let's see.
No, it doesn't seem like it. The one Tom that's here is not the Tom we're looking
Is not the Tom
Yeah.
we're looking for. Okay.
Yeah, if you
When
want-
when Tom shows up, we'll keep our eyes open for Tom D, but I haven't seen him come in yet.
Does
Okay,
anyone else
let's
want
go
to
back
talk
to
about that
David.
phone?
And once we do that, let's switch back to David Starkman's first question. So
Yes, yes,
anybody else
yeah.
have any
Okay,
comments on,
we have
on the
we
rocket?
have two other hands raised. Tom Gillum has a comment. Tom, you should be able to unmute.
Okay. I'm a firm believer of TrackPhone. I've been using TrackPhone for several years and I'm very happy with the service. And I get my phones from like Home Shopping Network or QVC, mostly Home Shopping Network. So it's really a cheap way in. The downside is the screen resolution isn't that good. I think on my current phone, which is a Moto G7, the screen resolution or the aspect ratio is 1570 by 720. And I see the Rocket is 2160 by 1080. It might be worth making the switch to the Rocket for the higher screen resolution, because I can tell you, 3D looking at the display with an owl or something at this resolution is just not good. So the question is, does anybody have any experience with this Rocket on TrackPhone? I know they have a program that you can bring your own phone.
I'm skeptical that it would be one of the models they would accept, but you could check with the TrackPhone people. Usually they have specific kind of models that will work with them. I don't know.
They do, but as I say, they have a program called Bring Your Own Phone. You may be right. It may not be one of
Yeah,
those.
most of the carriers have a Bring Your Own Phone, but they only accept certain phones and certain, systems. So I don't know. It's a good question.
Dorothy,
in fact,
I've been disappointed with the Samsung, and I switched over to this Motorola to get the higher screen resolution. I've been disappointed because the screen resolution doesn't really display very well when you're looking at it close up. That's fine if you're just looking at pictures. You're holding it out here like this and you look at pictures. It's fine, but
yeah, the 1080p is what's on most of these phones that we're talking about. The King 7S is higher. It's like 1440 or whatever, I think. But practically speaking, you don't see a difference there. If you were using some kind of magnification, I guess you might, or if you're looking at it really close. But for practical purposes, I don't really notice a difference. I don't know why I like the King better. It's just something about the feel of it, but it's got the highest resolution.
I noticed Dorothea Goodman said she's using a Rocket with Cricket. So, that's one of the smaller and, similar.
Yeah, I use Cricket. Yeah. I use Cricket for my primary phone. And when I tried it with, I think I did use Cricket I tried it for a month or something, but I ended up not using it very much. I was using it as kind of a secondary phone and I hardly used it. And the other thing is sometimes for some of the carriers, and I can't remember if Cricket did this, but even though they say you're using their cellular system, you're actually, if you're near internet, they use internet instead. So you really don't know how good the cell signal is unless you're out and about. And nowadays I'm not out and about. So you have to be a little careful how you interpret a brief test if it's really using the cellular. I suppose you could turn off the Wi-Fi or something. Anyway.
There's another raised hand, Wolfgang Sell. You can unmute yourself.
Yes, I have a question. I ordered one of the $200 hydrogen red phones, which I don't have yet. Can I just turn that on and not even register it with the phone company? Or is there anything special I have to do that?
It doesn't have to be connected to a phone company. I have one that was an aftermarket and I use it just as a display. So you shouldn't have any issues if you're not using it as a phone. It's Wi-Fi enabled.
Yeah, all of them should be able to just be turned on and used as a display and not I don't have, I have one of them registered because I use one of mine as an actual phone, but the others, I just use them all as displays. You could just turn it on and just do it right away. And that's what I did with my red hydrogen. I just turned it on because they have some content preloaded, and I just checked the phone.
Yeah. And of course, as an internet device, you know, even if you don't hook it up with a phone company to get the cellular service.
Can the built-in camera also be used like that?
Yes.
I had a problem. I had a problem with when I bought a hydrogen phone. I had to return it because I couldn't unlock it. Apparently, the previous owner, had a pin on the hardware so that when it was reset, it couldn't be unlocked without that pin. So I had to return the phone. The hydrogen.
If any of you are interested, the company Leah that made the screen for Leah is a subsidiary of HP that made the screen for the red hydrogen one, is releasing the LoomPad, a 10.5-inch tablet with the same cameras on the front side of it. It should be out in about a couple of months. But of course, it's a 10.5-inch version of that same screen technology.
I have an answer. Can people hear me?
Yes.
I have an answer about the track phone situation. I bought a King 7S and I tried to get the service with track phone and they said they couldn't do it. And then I went to AT&T. I bought the bring your own phone hardware and I took it to AT&T. I bought a pay by month plan with AT&T. The guy put the little metal thing in my
SIM card.
SIM card, yeah.
The SIM card adjuster plate, I guess. Anyway, once I got it on AT&T, I went back to TracFone, and they had no problem switching it over from AT&T, but they just couldn't take it without going to AT&T first.
Huh. Interesting.
I just want to add that also, if you don't do the paid prescription with any of the phones, you can always Wi-Fi.
Exactly.
So you can use it, you know, on computer phones like Google phones or what other Magic Jack phone, along with accessing the full internet on Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I've actually been doing using Facebook Messenger as a calling service. You can do voice calls right through Facebook to other people on Facebook, which is kind of a neat thing to do on phones that aren't connected to a phone service. Let's see, Matt Bergman has a hand raised. Matt?
Hey, morning, everyone. Yeah, I've got a Hydrogen 1, the Golden Gate Stereoscopic Society. We're having a lot of fun with these. Mine was $150 used, eBay, showed up filthy, but otherwise totally functional. I'm using it strictly as a camera. I have no service. I am using Wi-Fi on it to download apps, but it's primarily a camera for me. So you certainly can use it without service as a camera. I'm downloading my images. Actually, I'm not even downloading my images. They're being saved directly to my Google Drive account. So it's not difficult for me to load my side-by-sides into Stereo Photo Maker or Photoshop. Highly recommend it. My question is, has anyone displayed their own stereo photos on the screen? That's something I haven't figured out yet. Can it display side-by-sides, JPEGs, or MPEG?
Yes.
Is there a special trick?
Yes, in fact, yeah, you know what? I will put information in the chat, but yes, what you can do, it's actually too bad Nima's not here because he could explain it. He works for Leia. He could explain it better than I can. But yes, you can take your stereo pair and you just need to identify the file. You know what? Here, I have a Hydrogen 1 right here. Let me just take a look at the file names. You have to give the file a name that identifies it as a stereo pair. And then the phone just knows it and it actually converts it into the phone's 4-view format. It's actually quite easy once you know how to name your files. Give me 1 second here. So the naming convention. I just need to find the file directory. While I'm doing this, one other interesting thing about the Hydrogen 1 is its screen is capable of displaying 3D in both landscape and portrait modes. So when you rotate the phone, you still get a 3D image, which is a really interesting feature that I haven't seen since the HTC Evo. Okay, so here's what you do. You load in your own stereo pair and name it whatever the name of the photo is _2x1. So you tell it it's a 2x1 image. And once you've added _2x1, the phone will just recognize it as a stereo pair and display it.
So that's _2x1. That's not a file extension. That's just part of the name.
It's just part of the file name. Yes.
Okay.
And here I'll.
And
let
those
me
are
see.
side-by-side JPEGs you're loading in, so that
those are side-by-side JPEGs. Yes.
so it's 2
here I'm
times
gonna
1
I'm gonna
dot
see.
JPEG.
I don't know if you can see. I'll hold my phone up to the screen and show you. If you can see the file names on there.
Okay.
Here, let me spotlight my video here. So you can see my files just have an extension that says _2x1.
I see.
And then when I open the file that has that extension, it says open with Leia Player, and I'll do that. Let's see if I can get this to open. Because the Leia uses a 4-view format. So there's actually multiple ways to get your images in. The stereo pairs use the 2x1, 2x1. If you actually have 4 images, it would be a 2x2, 2x2.
Yeah, that's very versatile.
So Eric, what is your opinion of the image quality when you're looking at one of your side-by-sides that you put into that phone versus the same side-by-side on one of your more conventional 3D phones? That's at
Well,
least...
I'll tell you, it's actually it's an interesting thing because it's converting it into their 4-view format. You actually end up with some images working really well and other images sort of breaking up. But what is kind of interesting is in their app, I'm not sure how this will translate, but like in their app, I'll shift the phone and you'll see that it's actually shifting through 4 different views that it's generated. You can see a point here where it kind of does a shift. So in the app, that they have a program called the what is it, Leia Player. The Leia Player app, it converts the pair into the 4-view, and it actually has a slider where you can adjust the amount of depth that it's generating for the 4 views. And I've found that if I actually back that slider down like halfway, I reach a point where it actually looks like what my stereo pair should look like. So that's a tip. But what I'll do, I actually at one point, Andy Park here in the LA 3D Club had gotten a Hydrogen 1 and messaged me and said, how do I get this to work? And I actually wrote up some like step-by-step instructions to get his pictures into it. I'll dig that up and I'll put it into the chat here.
All right, thanks, Eric. Yeah, this is very helpful. And this is making this toy even more fun. So thank you very much.
is this the transcript and the chat? Is that being captured to be put out? Because there's a lot of questions and tips and everything.
Yes, yes, we are. We're
saving that.
We're saving all the chats, so we'll have all the questions and links and things. There were a couple questions in the chat that would probably be good to ask as well. Oh, and somebody pointed out in the chat that you can also load your side-by-side videos onto the Hydrogen One. If you rename your downloaded video file with _2x1 for a half side-by-side, or _full width _2x1, you can play your videos on it as well. There were a couple questions, a little more general. One was, is anybody using 3D steroid to take photos on their phone for the ones that don't have stereo cameras built into them, and then viewing them on the phone screen right away?
The other thing you can use is the ProCam app as well, which uses the iPhone's multiple cameras to take a simultaneous photo. It's like a couple dollars, and it's a little bit funky, but it's interesting.
Sangeeta replied that she's using 3D steroid.
I used the 3D steroid or the i3D steroid on my iPhone to take pictures, but then I free view them on that phone, and then sometimes they get transferred. So I don't really take pictures with any of these. I just use them for display. But I do heartily endorse that they are. Actually, the 3D steroid is good on these Android devices as a viewing stills, particularly if you don't have a viewing app that you really like. I use the TriDef Gallery, but if you don't have TriDef Gallery, that's one good way to view stills and limit a little bit of editing and stuff, I think.
Yeah, and 3D steroid is also great for doing cha-cha macro photography.
Yeah,
right on your phone.
Yeah, that's what I do with my iPhone a lot. Not all of it, but I do some macro stuff when it's not windy. I'm doing flowers and things. Yeah.
Could I squeeze in my question?
Yes, it's your turn, David.
Okay. It keeps going to sleep, and then it's hard for me to get it back on again.
Oh, we may not know the answer, but we'll listen to your question.
Yeah, but it's my one chance to ask a lot of people at once.
There you go.
So it was working fine, and I hadn't used it for about a year, and I went back. I do have TriDef on it because I have the VK World S2, but whether I use the gallery, which works fine, that came with it, or TriDef, the problem, and let me get it to do it, is if I go to playback anything, let's open an image. When it starts to play back, you see how it's jumping around? I'm not doing anything. It's like glitching and jumping from one picture to the next without me touching any advanced button. I don't have it in slideshow mode. And it does it with both the gallery or with any of the playback programs I'm using. It just jumps around like this.
It doesn't sound good.
David, you might take off the app and reload the app onto your device and see if that works.
What I'm saying,
but all the apps do it. It's probably hardware,
every
like
app
you
does
said.
It's not just one app. You know, if I use the gallery, this is TriDef. The gallery that came with it does the same thing.
It's very likely because the way these touch screens work, it's a conductive screen, and there's probably a point on the screen that's always making or intermittently making contact without you touching it.
Of some sort.
Yeah. I mean, the screen thinks that your finger is on it when it's not, and it's intermittent.
So anybody else run into this and figure out a solution?
Another possibility, David, might be that it's having an error reading the micro SD card. So you might want to power it down, pull the micro SD card, maybe even try a different micro SD card, put the same images on a different card and see if you have the same problem.
Or any images. That's a good
Yeah,
suggestion.
that's a good idea. Yeah,
try.
yeah.
All right, good idea.
David, have you tried 3D Steroid Pro?
Yeah, I've got it on here. Just froze up on me again.
Yeah. So do you have problems?
It's the damn slowest tablet, and it drives me nuts. But
if you're doing other things on the besides viewing these images or viewing, I mean, if you just open a browser or something, does it jump around, or does it seem like it's perceiving your finger when it's not there?
There's a good tip in the chat, David. Kevin Anderson just said, if you actually, if you go into the developer options, you'd have to get developer mode in the settings menu. But if you go into developer options, one of the developer settings is to turn on screen touch, and it'll actually show you where it thinks a finger is tapping the screen.
okay. By the way, somebody asked if I tried it with Steroid Pro, and this is now playback in 3D Steroid. And it's doing the same thing.
Right off the top of my head, I would think, since you said you hadn't used it for a year, it could be the battery.
Well, I've had it plugged in, and right now I'm playing it back with the battery. You know, I don't even try to play it now without it being plugged in.
It doesn't look as glitchy in 3D Steroid as it did in TriDev.
Well,
it's moving, but I don't see the glitch.
Well, it's
David.
I'm not doing anything, and there it is. You know,
David, what I would suggest, because it does seem like it's a problem with the screen digitizer reading where your finger would be tapping. A really good first test would be to go into that developer mode and see if it thinks there's a finger touching the screen when there isn't.
Okay.
And we can talk about that outside of this meeting.
I'll check with you.
I can check in with you and coach you through getting to that state, that step.
And we have a second tablet. We got one for Susan, and hers was working fine until the battery seems to have died completely. So because I have a guy that I think can change the battery. He's willing to do it on any device, but I haven't gotten around to doing that. Has anybody else changed their battery on one of these?
I haven't changed mine, but I did have an occasion where it seemed like the battery was dead, and I actually found that what I had to do was plug it into
USB,
a USB charger.
Like overnight.
I made sure to use it. There were a couple tricks. I remember when I first got it, it had this issue because
I've tried all those tricks. When these first came, when these were being sold really cheaply, I did a favor for the German Stereo Club and bought like 10 of them, and I think about 6 I had to do that battery, USB thing to get them working, and 1 out of the 10 I had to send back. Nothing would get it charging. But so I've done that process, and I've tried it on this one, but it's not working. So I think it's either the main battery or else that little one of them has to be changed, I guess.
Yeah. The batteries are potentially an issue, but again, I'm sure somebody can get around it. But a couple of people in the chat suggested you take the case off and see if it does the same thing, David.
Oh, okay.
And Tom Dory just got here.
Okay. Well, anyway, thank you.
Okay, let's turn it over. Let's turn it over to Tom because he's got a short presentation for us.
Hey, Tom, if you can raise your hand when you're in, then that'll bubble up to the top and we can grab you easily. Wait, there.
He's here. He's here, and he's unmuted. Yeah.
You got him.
Yeah, we can hear you, Tom.
Nope. Nope, we can't hear you. We see your mouth.
No, you're breaking up.
How's this now?
Better.
That's much better. Yeah.
Okay. So we're still waiting to start for a few minutes.
No. We've actually been going for
45 minutes.
All right.
quite a while
I've
now.
gone
40
different.
minutes.
I showed, my calendar showed it starting in a few minutes. Well, good.
We've been waiting for you.
Oh, no.
Well, not
Daylight
waiting.
savings time, by the way.
All right, Tom, you get to wrap us up. So go ahead and do your presentation.
I'm sorry I missed so much. Minute here. Ah,
Oh, sorry, is Meg muted?
Tom,
yeah. Can you still hear
we're
me?
ready for you. Yeah, we're ready. We can hear you. So if you're ready to go.
Let me show screen sharing then, just a second here.
Okay, let me
Okay, I need to
give
do that.
you the ability to do that. Yeah.
Tom, make co-host. Co-host. Okay, Tom, you should have the ability to screen share.
Yep. Let's try that. Let's see if this works here. Ah, are you seeing my screen? Oops. Try that.
Yep.
Yeah, we got it.
Good. All right, there's been a lot of discussion. I'm sorry I missed it all on all the cameras with 3D displays. I'm trying to cast my Red Media Corporation Hydrogen 1 phone camera on the screen and just show you a few highlights if you're not familiar with it. So if I go to the camera mode, you can see my keyboard. Let's see if this actually will flip here pretty soon. What I like about this is there are a lot of features in it.
Sorry, Tom, could you speak up a tiny bit?
Yeah, how about that?
That's good.
Yeah, there's a lot of features associated with it. Sorry, it's not updating fast. Various filters like you would find on a camera. For example, blue and tungsten, that's really handy, which I personally like. Let me go back here. There's an automatic and manual mode, which not all the 3D phones have. For example, you can change the equivalent ISO, make it more or less sensitive, change the shutter speed, all that nice stuff. You can go to full automatic. You can adjust the equivalent of the f-stop on it if you like that. So a lot of nice features. There's an HDR feature if you like it. There's video features. When you do capture a picture, oops, there we go. What's nice is now you have all sorts of options to actually adjust it, again, with different coloring tints, cropping extensions. I mean, it's pretty much a full functional phone, camera rather, that happens to be a phone. So I like that about using it just as a phone with a 3D display. Getting out of the camera mode, there's something called Leah Loft. Now, Leah, of course, is the company, the Red Media Corporation contracted to make the 3D display. They're completely separate companies. And underneath that is Holopix. It's an extremely active, too bad it's not on 3D here, 3D. People are posting their pictures on this camera almost constantly. There's lots of images to see. They're updated all the time. I post on here. A couple people on this group post here. For example, Eric, I've seen some of your stuff on here as well.
Yeah, I've put quite a few up there. We mentioned earlier that it's rather easy to get your stereo pairs onto the phone just by adding _2x1 to the file name.
That is correct, under File Manager here. For example, if you shoot in the what they call expert mode, you get this very long, funny looking There it is. Name, it's just image and it has a date, code, and it says full. When it says 2x1, if I display it now, it's a simple side-by-side JPEG that can be imported directly into SPM and manipulated. When they have, there's some other designations on here that get the 4 images. I don't know if I saved any here. So it's absolutely no problem to bring it into SPM and do all the manipulation there. It's really rather easy. There you go. So I'm sorry I missed all the discussion. That's basically what I wanted to say. There's a huge network. That's a sort of a cool graphic in 3D. And if you're into movies, though I'm not in looking at movies on a small screen, there's multiple movies that they have you can purchase. Unfortunately, I've purchased them all, but you can watch the free trailer. And you can, of course, do horizontal and vertical 3D. You can take selfies with the front camera that are 3D also, as well as the true 3D in the back, because it has 2 lenses. So, you know, it's a fairly handy camera. It was overpriced to begin with, but the price has dropped quite a bit now, and it's almost reasonable to buy and use. Has a lot of features some of the other 3D phones don't have. So I like it. It's kind of awkward and goofy looking. Here, let me. You can see my screen now. You know, I'm sure you've seen these. These real thick things with a funny border on them. Real bizarre. I know some of you have these things, but does have 2 lenses on the back like some don't. So that's just what I wanted to say. It's very handy.
I have a couple questions, Tom. Can you use 3D steroid on it to take wider based cha-chas easily?
You can. There is a setup to do wider base cha-chas on it.
Even without using 3D steroid, or just?
I haven't tried using 3D stereo on it, so I really.
But you can do it just on the camera. It's got a provision for that.
Features, right?
Okay. And I believe I've been told that you can't access the HoloPix stuff unless you actually are an owner or something, or is there a way to access that website?
HoloPix webpage, but they're all the proprietary LEA Corporation format. So unless you have that software on the phone, you really can't view.
One of the things that Nima from Leia recently announced is that they are in beta testing right now on a HoloPix app for Android that would be for non-3D phones, to be able to view it in sort of a interactive wiggle format for non. I haven't heard anything about them supporting other glasses-free 3D screens yet, but that would be an interesting question to ask Nima if he comes around again.
Yeah.
Yeah, the corporation many months ago announced they were working on a film that you could put onto Android phones, but I haven't heard anything in a good 6 months. So I don't know if that project's dead or not.
For Android phones, what phone has the widest lens distance, like 1.2 or more, or do they even exist?
There aren't any modern ones that exist anymore with a wide base. Some of the older ones that you can still find occasionally have a wider base. For example, if you can see my screen now, this old one, it's the HTC. It's got about a 50 millimeter base. That's not too bad.
I have those.
Yeah, none of the modern ones do, unfortunately. Even the L phone from China doesn't have a wide base. So that's very unfortunate.
Does it have 2 lenses, just not a wide base, you're saying, the L phone? Because there are so few that even have 2 lenses at all. That's why.
Yes, it does. No, it does have 2 lenses. Let me put it right up close here. Maybe you can see it, maybe not. But they're very close together. It's smaller spacing than the H1. And so it's really not very useful.
Yeah. And what is the lens spacing again on the hydrogen one?
I measured it somewhere around 18 to 20 millimeters. And so it's really excellent for macro or something about 4 to 5 feet away, maybe 10 feet away. And then you start using some of the depth profiling features, and the actual 3D appearance, in my opinion, tends to go down. But it's still much better than the phones that try and do only depth matching. I did a side-by-side comparison of this H1 with some of the other phones, specifically the the Rocket that has one lens and does mapping. Same image, same spacing, separation or distance to the image, and it's a clear, better 3D when you have two lenses. The depth matching sort of works, but not perfect. So unfortunately, I thought last year there'd be a lot of new phones out. I mean, that hasn't happened. Rocket rumored at one time they'd come out with a phone. Nothing at all from them currently. Of course, the H1, they've announced they're going to discontinue it completely, shutting down their website, though the Leah is keeping it up. And the L phone.
Yeah, what's happened there? Red, the company Red, has completely gotten out of the phone market. So actually, the reason that you can now get the Hydrogen One phone aftermarket for $200 or less is because it's now a discontinued phone. Fortunately, the Leia Lab company based up in the San Francisco Bay Area, they own the screen technology, so they are actually still giving full support to the phone as a display device, and they're developing new devices using the same kind of display technology. So it's actually it's not even the Red Hydrogen One anymore. They've removed all references to Red in the software on the phone. It's just the Hydrogen One or the Leia phone now.
Yeah. And I was hoping that the Chinese company, the L phone, would actually come out with a new model, you know, like every year to year, 2 years or so. And it's about time. They had the P8, P11, P10 rather, and I'm expecting maybe another one, but you know, you never can tell with Chinese phone manufacturers. But at least they're the only cell phone company that shows some interest in 3D auto display screens. But there's no guarantee they'll come out with another phone this year or next year either.
I might add that the WeView that Eric uses right now for his view, that works with phones. So, you know, you got a slightly wider base that you can hook up to any phone you have.
Oh, that's good.
That's true. Yeah, yeah. The WeView camera, you can get these for about $200. This is the camera that I'm actually currently. I have two of these. I have one I'm using as a webcam, and one that I always have in my pocket to use as a stereo camera. And it's got built-in Wi-Fi and an Android app, so that pictures that I take with it are actually saved on the memory card, and then I can transfer directly to my phone, and I can load it into 3D Steroid and look at it.
And it can come with a gyro stabilizer. So if you're moving like a GoPro, you can use it like a GoPro, and it stabilizes.
I just wanted to chime
Thanks,
in.
Ron Labby, for turning me on to that.
I wanted to chime in about the WeView for 1 second. I have one, and the Wi-Fi pairing with your phone can be a little awkward. It can take about 30 seconds. Oh. So it's hard to whip it out and just take a shot in a hurry. But if you're going to take a few shots, it's definitely worth doing. And I have a little jury-rigged system for attaching the camera to the back of my Android phone. I can't show you my phone because I'm using it as a web camera, but my phone has a little thing on the back of it called a pop socket, if you know what that is. It's a little thing little round adhesive thing you can buy, and it sort of telescopes out and it turns into a little handle for the phone. You can also use it as kickstand. And one of the accessories sold by the same company that makes the pop socket is a little U-shaped thing that fits over it. So here's my WeView camera, and then I put this little U-shaped thing on the back of it, and that fits right over the pop socket on the back of my phone and just sort of rides on the back of the phone. So then I can hold the phone and I don't have to hold the camera, and it mechanically it's like one unit. So it's a handy thing. If you have a WeView, you might want to think about, I mean, this costs like $10 and the pop socket costs like about, I don't know, just a few bucks. So
where do you get that, Max?
They're sold all over the place. I mean, the pop sockets are sold. You can see them in like the checkout line at CVS or whatever. I got the little mount piece at, I think, Staples, and you can order them online. And they just, this is stuck
on Amazon and everywhere.
Yeah, this is stuck by
That's a
adhesive
brilliant
onto
way
the back
to
of the
add-
WeView.
Yeah, that's designed to be a bracket that you hang your phone on.
Yeah, exactly. It's designed to stick onto a wall like this, and you hang your phone on it. So I just mounted it upside down so that the phone then hangs off. I mean, the camera hangs off the phone, because the camera is smaller and lighter. So you want to be holding your phone. So this just sort of piggybacks on the phone, and it works really well.
Yeah, that's a brilliant way to add twin lenses to the back of any one of these cameras.
Yeah,
any one of
exactly.
these phones.
Max, do you find that?
I should also
sorry.
add to what Max was saying about the time that it takes to connect Wi-Fi. Partially, that's because say you're at home and your phone is on your home Wi-Fi network, you actually have to disconnect from your home Wi-Fi network and connect to the WeView's Wi-Fi in order to be able to do it, because your phone can only have one Wi-Fi connection at a time.
Yeah, the WeView wants to be the hotspot for your phone, which is kind of a funky way to do it.
I imagine they did that so they could have higher bandwidth to transfer the images.
Probably.
Because with the camera being this small, it actually has no viewfinder, no screen. It uses your phone as the viewfinder. So you essentially get an almost live view of what the camera is seeing to take your pictures. Now, you can also not be connected to Wi-Fi at all and just kind of blind shoot with the phone and take pictures by pressing the button on the phone, on the camera itself, and then connect and take a look at what you shot, and hopefully you were pointed in the right direction.
And it's very wide angle.
It is very wide angle. So as long as you're pointed in the right general direction, you'll usually get what you're aiming at. But that said, when you connect by Wi-Fi, your phone actually becomes the viewfinder, and you can use the phone to control. It's got some minimal exposure controls. You can switch between stills and video, and you can hit the start and stop or the button to take a photo right on the phone.
I have a solution to show also. Pop socket's probably a lot easier, but this is my phone. I should have the phone the other way around. Hold on. Anyway, it's just it's like a horizontal bracket, and I've got the phone attached. This is like a adapter you can buy that it's for putting a phone on a tripod or any device that has a 1/4-20 thread. It opens up, and
I've actually got something very similar right now, holding my WeView as a webcam on my laptop.
And well, they're probably $5 to $10 on Amazon. I got several of them from China for about $1 each. But anyway, and I happen to have a little bar that I put a couple of 1/4-20 mounts on, and you can just have the camera side by side with the with my phone on it. Again, so it's just easier, but the pop socket's an even more elegant solution.
And that was kind of a improvised thing, because I already had the pop socket on my phone, and I was bummed because what I really wanted to do was just put a strip of Velcro on the phone and on the camera. And then I discovered this little mounting piece that mates with the pop socket. So then that ended up working really well. And it rotates a little bit. So like you have to be careful not to have the phone like this, but it, by the same token, you can just level it very easily.
I have a question.
Something else.
On the
Something else.
Can I ask-
Melody wanted to ask something.
Yeah.
on the
Go ahead,
WeView,
Melody.
the WeView company also made an extension lens that was USB to your phone to make it into stereo. Has anybody tried that? I just kind of thought, what?
I haven't seen
I
that.
had doubts it would work.
Yeah, it was an early product that they had that actually plugged into the charging
Oh,
port,
yes.
the USB charging port.
To create a second. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never tried one, but I don't know that it worked all that well. What I wanted to point out was when you're using your phone as a viewfinder, it is actually showing you the WeView takes a pair of square format images. So you actually see left and right full square images spread across your phone. So if you put like a clip-on stereoscope on your phone, you can actually live view in 3D as you're shooting.
Yeah, but if you have the pop socket on the back of your phone, you will not be able to put a little, like one of these little things on the phone. Just caution.
I have something to add about an app for the phones, for several of the phones. Linda had mentioned try to 3D Gallery. A friend who I will not name, but a friend, unless they want to name themselves because they're here, but a friend had very kindly lent me their VK World S2, is it, phone, because that has TriDef 3D Gallery on it. For anybody who doesn't know what I'm talking about, here's the deal. TriDef 3D Gallery, which by the way is the best app I've used for a phone or a tablet, a 3D phone or a tablet. TriDef 3D Gallery is gone. The company's gone. It's out of business, bankrupt. Weirdly, the app is still there. You cannot find it. If you search for it on, and this is for Android, if you search for it on the Google Play Store, not there, but it actually is there. You'll only be able to access it if you actually already own a copy of it. And you have to go through this weird process of creating the same account, creating an account on a VK World phone, and then buying the app on a different device. I tried 4 different attempts, all of them completely successful. Some people have had good luck trying to do this. Some people have failed. I discovered all kinds of things that make it foolproof. And one of these days, when I have time, I'm going to post my workflow.
We're short on time. Can you?
Well, yeah. What I'd like to suggest at this point is we can take the discussions onto Facebook and continue there if we need to, but we actually need to shut this down so that we can start the workshop.
Or high fidelity. If people go to high fidelity.
Yeah.
Is there an area in high fidelity, Dave Heiser, where it's a good place that's for tablets and phones that you can recommend? I know, oh, he can't, maybe he can type in the chat. But anyway, right, and so, sorry, I had a quick announcement too, that there were requests for, if I just want to share my screen real quick. So between the areas, so make sure that this is the high fidelity I was talking about. And be sure to go and visit the art gallery, right? We have a lot of interesting web pages from different 3D folks that have put things there. And then also there is the trade fair down here where you can go and look at different products that people have available. There's also supplementary material like in the sessions on the history of stereoscopic photography where you can go in and click and you can view the presentations in your own kind of different formats. And this works really well on the phone too. If you if you need to just switch it into like, I don't know if it works on interlaced on different devices, but that would be interesting to see. The reason it couldn't. So that's basically my spiel. Eric, did you have anything a little bit more?
I have one quick
I guess
comment.
Eric,
yes,
where are the transcripts being posted?
I don't believe
they haven't been posted yet. We haven't posted them yet, but we will get them up on the website. I have all of the chat transcripts saved. We'll make sure we get them posted.
And people can
Thank
save
you.
them themselves.
It may be just a compilation of the information. So I don't want to promise anything we can't totally deliver, but we will give you the information that we gleaned.
Yeah, we'll at least gather links and tips and make sure that all gets distributed.
Right.
One last thing.
And just a note that somebody said you can save it, but if you're on a phone, you can't save the transcript. You can only do that if you're on a computer. So that's why I'm asking for people like me who are on a phone.
If you'd like to save a copy yourself and you're on a computer, you can click the 3 little dots and save chat. And one last thing, I know some people had posted comments about how they were able to actually watch some of the theater screenings on their glasses-free phones. If you were successfully able to do that, please go to the Facebook group and post how you did it, because I know there were some other people who weren't able to. So it'd be good to get that information out to people too.
Why don't we carry this over
I want
to
to thank
the Crossview Sunroom? If you go in high fidelity to the Crossview Sunroom and you want to chat with people more about these kind of phones, you can just go into your browser, put in your headphones, and then chat with people down here. And that's in the high fidelity link on the website in the virtual convention tab.
And I did put in the chat the addresses for the groups.io groups that are for future discussions about these phones or future support. There is a dedicated 3D, well, it's called 3D tablets, but it's tablets and phones that used to be on Yahoo. Now it's on the groups.io format or the general Photo 3D thing. You have to join the group. Well, you don't actually have to join the group to see the content, but you have to join to post. And I don't run the 3D tablets group, but I am a member and I do run the Photo 3D group. So those things might be useful to people who don't do a lot of Facebook.
All that information is over in our links tab on the page. So you go to links and then you click on this little PDF, and then there's this Linda put together this really great document which has a bunch of just different sources where you can go and join, and they're all kind of legacy. I mean, they're not legacy, but they're really happening. But they've been around for some of them for 20 years, and they're really a great source of information.
And it's online access, not just email. If people don't like to do stuff on email anymore, there's a lot of stuff on the website as well. But anyway, it's what happened to Yahoo groups, which aren't there anymore.
And I should also point out, if you're on Facebook, the Facebook group will live on past the convention, so we'll be able to continue these discussions over the next weeks, months, years in the existing Facebook group. But we do need to close this room now so we can start the workshops. I want to thank everyone for coming. I want to thank Andrea for putting this together, and Linda for overseeing this. This has really been great. And thanks to all of you for coming. We'll see you in the workshops.
Thank you.